The V-1 and V-2 rockets were born out of Germany's desperation to turn the tide of the war in their favor, as well as a reaction to the bombing missions the Allied forces carried out over Berlin and other major cities. The idea for a rocket-powered bomb was first proposed by the German rocket scientist Werner von Braun, who was working for the German army at the time. The V-1, also known as the Buzz bomb, was the first of the two rockets to be developed. It was essentially a pilotless aircraft, powered by a pulsejet engine and packed with explosives. The V-1 was designed to be launched from ramps on the ground, and then fly to its target, guided by a simple autopilot system. The V-2, on the other hand, was a completely different beast. It was the world's first long-range ballistic missile, and was capable of reaching a range of over 200 miles. The V-2 used a liquid-fuel rocket engine, and was guided by an inertial guidance system. It was capable of traveling at a speed of over 3,500 miles per hour, making it almost impossible to intercept. The V-1 and V-2 rockets were both terrifying weapons, but they were used in different ways. The V-1 was used primarily against London and other cities in southern England. The rockets were launched from ramps in northern France and Belgium, and aimed at population centers. The V-2, on the other hand, was used as a strategic weapon. It was aimed at military and industrial targets, such as airfields, ports, and factories. Despite their devastating power, the V-1 and V-2 rockets were not enough to turn the tide of the war. By the time they were developed, the Allies had already gained a significant advantage, and the German war machine was in decline. However, the V-1 and V-2 rockets had a significant impact on the course of the war. They caused widespread destruction and terrorized the civilian population, forcing the Allies to divert resources to counter them. Overall, the V-1 and V-2 rockets were a testament to the power of technology in war. They showed that even a relatively small country like Germany could develop a weapon capable of causing massive destruction. During the early stages of development, the V-1 rocket faced a number of challenges. The pulsejet engine, for instance, was difficult to control and required constant tuning. Additionally, the guidance system was prone to errors, making it difficult to achieve accurate strikes on targets. However, with time and resources, German engineers managed to overcome these obstacles and refine the V-1's design. One of the most significant achievements was the development of the Fi-103R Reichenberg, a piloted version of the V-1 rocket. The Reichenberg was essentially a suicide drone that was designed to be flown by a pilot into an enemy target. Although the project was eventually scrapped due to ethical concerns, it demonstrated the Germans' commitment to pushing the limits of rocket technology. Another important development was the creation of the launch infrastructure required to deploy the V-1 rockets. Launch sites were constructed throughout Europe, with many located in France and Belgium. The Germans went to great lengths to conceal these sites from Allied forces, using camouflage and decoys, to make it difficult for the Allies to locate and destroy them. Additionally, the rockets were relatively slow-moving, and could be shot down by anti-aircraft fire. However, the V-1's indiscriminate nature made it a highly effective terror weapon, causing widespread panic and destruction among the civilian populations of London and other cities. Overall, the V-1 rocket represented a significant breakthrough in rocket technology, and was a major milestone in the development of ballistic missiles. While the V-1 had limitations and was eventually surpassed by more advanced rockets, it had a profound impact on the course of the war, and on the development of missile technology in the post-war years. The V-1 rocket campaign began on June 13, 1944, and continued until March 1945. Over the course of the campaign, over 9,000 V-1 rockets were launched at England. London was the primary target, with over 2,400 rockets aimed at the city. However, other cities such as Southampton, Bristol, and Plymouth were also hit. In total, the V-1 campaign killed over 6,000 people and injured over 17,000 more. By the end of the war, the Germans had launched over 13,000 V-1 rockets, but the damage they caused was relatively limited compared to other weapons, such as the bombing campaigns. However, the V-1 campaign did have a significant psychological impact, as it demonstrated the potential for long-range missile attacks, and the difficulty of defending against them. The development of the V-2 rocket began in 1936, when a German scientist named Werner von Braun began working on the project. The rocket was designed to be a weapon of war, but it was also part of a larger plan to explore space. Von Braun believed that rockets could be used to explore the solar system, and he saw the V-2 as a stepping stone to that goal. The V-2 rocket was designed to be launched vertically, from a mobile launch platform. The rocket was fueled by a mixture of liquid oxygen and ethanol, which was highly flammable and explosive. The V-2 was a technological marvel, but it was also highly dangerous. The fuel was highly volatile, and the rocket had a tendency to explode on the launch pad. Despite the dangers, the Germans continued to develop and launch the V-2 rocket throughout the war. The first successful launch took place in October 1942, and the rocket was used in combat for the first time in September 1944. The V-2 was launched from mobile platforms, making it difficult for the Allies to track and destroy them. The V-2 was used primarily to attack Allied cities and military installations. The rocket was capable of carrying a 2,200-pound warhead, which was much larger than the warhead of the V-1. The V-2 was much faster and more accurate than the V-1, and it was capable of causing massive destruction. The V-2's high speed and altitude made it very difficult to defend against, and it caused widespread damage and casualties. In London alone, the V-2 rocket attacks killed over 2,700 people, and caused significant damage to buildings and infrastructure. The V-2 rocket was also used to attack military targets. One of the most notable attacks was against the port of Antwerp, which was a crucial supply line for the Allied forces. The attack caused significant damage and delayed the Allies' progress in the war. Despite the effectiveness of the V-2 rocket, it was not enough to turn the tide of the war in favor of the Germans. The production and launch of the rocket were hampered by technical difficulties and logistical challenges. The rocket was expensive to produce, and required a significant amount of resources to launch. The production of the rocket was also hampered by Allied bombing campaigns, which destroyed many of the factories where the rocket was produced. In total, around 3,000 V-2 rockets were launched during the war. However, the majority of these rockets were launched in the later stages of the war, when it was clear that Germany was losing the conflict. Nonetheless, it was a significant development in the history of rocket technology, and set the stage for future advancements in ballistic missiles. In conclusion, the V-1 and V-2 rockets were a significant technological achievement for the Germans during the Second World War. They represented a shift in the way war was fought, moving towards long-range missiles capable of causing destruction from afar. While the V-1 and V-2 rockets did cause widespread fear and damage, their impact on the outcome of the conflict was limited. Ultimately, the German war effort was unsustainable, and the rockets were a last-ditch attempt to turn the tide in their favor. The legacy of the V-1 and V-2 rockets is a reminder of the destructive power of war, and the importance of continuing efforts to find peaceful solutions to conflicts. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to our channel as we explore more technology of World War II.